right. How are y'all doing? All right. So, hey.
I didn't think I was going to make it today. I didn't know if my internet was going to come back on.
You're good. I know you've had like a ton of snow. So, yeah.
Craziness. Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, if you want to introduce yourself and then we'll get started.
Hello, lovelies. Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine sufferer in the land of snow. Yes, here in Colorado, we have gotten feet of snow. The roads are still closed. My neighbor was sweet enough to come down with his tractor and clear the 4-foot drift across my driveway.
Nice.
So we can actually get out onto the main road today. However, none of the roads away from us toward the there's 12 miles between us and Highway 94, and none of those roads are plowed.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
And so, yeah.
Stranded. Pretty much. Okay. So, for those of you that don't know me, I am writer Sam Wicker. Welcome to my channel. And we are testing a new thing today, which is working brilliantly so far. And yeah. So, today we are doing an episode of Breaking the Block, where we will try to answer questions about creative or writer's block. Or if you don't believe necessarily in writer's block, then, those times where you can't just get the words out. And we've got a couple of questions already pre-made, but if you have questions, make sure to pop them up in the chat and we will do our best to help you out. And if you're in the chat, help each other out too.
Yeah. This is very important. This show is very important because we all have different writing experiences. We all have different life experiences. We all have different methods. And so, yeah, it's very important that we help each other out, because there's all these people selling books and preaching methods and saying, my method is the only method way, and give me money so you can learn my method. And it may not work for you. And it's okay if it doesn't work for you. If the method that is so popular that, it seems like everyone around you is doing it, but you just can't make it work for you, that's all right. There is not something wrong with you. You are not the imp. Don't listen to the imp telling you. Imposter syndrome, bad. Don't listen to the imp telling you that there is something wrong with you and you're not a real writer. Self-Pub with Dale did a You're Not a Real Writer If video this week that was talking about how, all these people were like, you're not a real writer if, you're not a real writer if you, and his whole message was, yeah, you have to put in the diligence to make sure your work is the best work it can be, because unfortunately, as indie authors, the indie author bias exist. It puts us down. It looks down on us. It makes us feel like we are less. And it has brainwashed readers into believing all indie authors are bad. All indie authors are bad. And unfortunately, there are some indie authors out there that they don't put in the work. They don't put in their due diligence. And yes, that happens. But being an indie author is a learning curve. I've been publishing for 7 years and I still struggle.
Yeah.
I have a 15-step editing process and 30 questions for world building and 30 questions for character creation. And it's all a process. And my writing the tree process that I learned back in 92 is the method that works for how my brain works. And well, you got to see how that method works for me, Sam. I sent you The Moon is Waxing.
Yep. Okay. So, I was going to do something. Can't remember what it was. All right.
Can we share comments on this?
Yes, I've been doing that. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe I just can't see it from my end.
Oh.
Because I can only see the comments on the side and I can only see you.
Weird. Okay. So that's something new then.
I'm on the back end, and I don't have the stream pulled up on YouTube.
Okay. All right.
But I was looking at Shannon's comment. Everyone does things differently, and it's brilliant. Yes, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can see that comment.
Okay, good.
Or not Shannon, Skye. I can see Skye's comment. Okay.
All right, cool. And then had Eva join us over on Twitch. And I see another comment, but it is not.
Rita Slanina's here. Happy Sunday to you, sweetheart.
It took it a little while to pop up.
How are the chickens this morning?
Yeah. I am still using Streamlabs, but this is their Talk Studio portion, which isn't part of their desktop app. It's a web-based browser. Oh no, sorry, Mama Maggie. Thank you. Eva's double dipping.
I'm back. Sorry.
You're good. I've had allergies like all week. So yeah, I get you. Hey Miranda, good morning. Let's see. Cat Paw says, I mostly read indie these days. I'm so over the most marketable books I have been reading for a long time, and I prefer the new and fresh that may not be commercial enough for a trad pub. Yeah. So my thing is piggybacking off of that. I read both. Usually I read like an indie book, and then I read a trad pub book, and then I read another indie book, and it just keeps going back and forth. I've read more good indie books than I have trad books of late. And that is not just plot, that's not just characterization, that's also editing. Like I pick out more mistakes in trad books than I do some indie books. So
I have found myself becoming less and less tolerant of mistakes in trad pub books because
they have a whole team.
You know, and I'm like, how can you have 8 people look at something and you're running it through all of the best editing programs, and I think it just proves that, you know, indie authors work harder. Yeah. And even the indie authors who struggle with the editing, who struggle with the formatting. I've spent the last 3 days pretty much offline formatting so that I can get this month's book done. And it's just like, there's, you know, and if you like chargeful, if you're an indie author, and like a lot of trad pubs books are like not $10, $15, $20 for the ebook, not the print book, the ebook. Mm-hmm. They want $20 for the ebook and $25 for the print book.
And like the ebook, they're making like at least $12 off of that.
And as indie authors, if we price a book for more than $5 or $6, people are like,
"Yeah,
really? An indie author? I'm not paying $10 for an indie book." I mean, I think I don't think I have any books that are above $6. I think my highest price book is my biggest book, 150,000 words, and that one's like $5.99.
Yeah. I think I'm No Hero I priced at $9.99 just because Drafted Digital was like, we recommend this because of the word count and page count and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Skye says, I still read both indie and trad books, but I've read more indie books the past few years. It's definitely unbalanced more towards indie these days.
Yeah.
Miranda says, I read both, but I do tend to expect more from trad books. Exactly.
Trad
Eva's talking about her friend.
I don't know if maybe I ended up down the wrong vein of trad publishing, but I read a lot of scientific books.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm reading one right now on genetics that is absolutely fascinating. I won't bore you with my geekiness, but it's talking about genetic allele drifting, and it's written by the guy who wrote the book on the genetics of blood that I found so fascinating. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but the problem is the trad pub fiction books that I've been reading lately, they're just trope mills. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, they tell us, when whatever the whole thing is don't put more than 5 tropes in your book. Try to limit yourself. But then you get into these trad pub books, and it's just this. It's like they're making Italian meatballs or something. They're taking every piece of meat out of the refrigerator, stuffing it in the grinder, and then they're stuffing it into the casing.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, and they're like, oh, and let's add all of these weird spices. Like we're gonna put cilantro and citrus zest and cumin all together. No, please don't add turmeric too. No, don't. No, not the turmeric. Ew. Yeah, and it's just like,
yeah, it's everything. Skye says a lot of trad pubs are about hitting certain markets and word counts and tropes that are marketable. So a lot of fluff passes through. A lot of the trad books I've read lately were 100 plus pages too long. Yeah. See, Eva says my picture books are $28 and I make $1. Yeah.
Yeah. I make less than $2 on every book I sell.
And Cat Paw says that the pricing also ticks her off because, yeah, if it's an indie book, I'd rather pay more for that.
Yeah, I'd rather support someone that didn't get $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 book bonus. I mean, yeah.
Cat Paw has a rec for you if you want to hit her up.
Ooh, yes, I will take it. I will take it. I do enjoy the sciencey ones.
Eva says Ingra does offer a direct sales link, so I can sell books for less while making more without buying stock, which is cool and new to me. Yeah, I love Ingram for that, and Lulu's pretty good for that. Lulu has their own website, and they put whatever book that is published with them on that website too. So you kind of get like a new or an additional way to sell your books too.
I think that moving into Ingram and Lulu is what I'm going to be doing for 2025.
Yeah, it's really easy and I love it. I mean, it's just like upload and I'm done. Here's the link. Okay, so here we go. We have our first question. This was from our little Facebook group. So, how can other people affect your excitement? Family, friends, peers?
I think this is a very interesting question, and it plays back into the discussion we were having about the isolation of author life. Now, a lot of us, our writing social group, our writing social circle is literally this corner of AuthorTube. And if we have a friend or family member that reads our books, then that is bonus points for us. But I think for a lot of indie authors, the isolationism we feel putting all of this work, all of this effort into these books, and then no one around us even oh, you're a writer. It's, well, are you done writing? We want, are you done with this? Are you done, and it's, and like I go through that with my family. I've had to set it up to where I'm, when the family's home, I am less doing this and more with them. And when they're at work, that's when I'm at work.
Right. Yeah. Eva says that they can squash it if they wanted to, but in general, my own mood picks fights, I think. Does that resonate with y'all? Yeah. Skye says, oh, that's a good question. It varies between different people. Eva says, I almost asked them to ruin it or something. Okay, so there's the wreck.
Okay, I'm writing it down.
Okay, The Lost Family by Libby Copeland. Okay. And Eva says, like, I expect too much praise in that moment, or the imposter syndrome wins, or their body language reads as placating rather than sincere. I get it.
Yeah.
Skye says, the Hubs and I used to sit down and discuss various plot points about books all the time. I use him as a rubber duck, and I still do, and I'm absolutely stuck. Yep. Rita's saying, everybody is amazing. And y'all are. So I'm one of those weird people that I don't take compliments well. I'm working on it. But I also, well, just like anybody, especially if you have like depression and anxiety and you have like that self-loathing monster and the imposter syndrome, you take the bad and you really hold it closer than you do actual compliments. So if you have, say, one of those people in your life who are really completely 100% always negative, always pointing out the flaws and stuff like that, then they have a tendency to crush the people around them. And at that point, you have to wonder if it's worth having them in your life. Mm-hmm. Especially if they're not willing to work on themselves to better themselves, to be a better person for those around them. But I come from a very supportive family. They don't always understand me because I am the weird one. So they still support me. You know, they still ask how the writing's going, how everything is going, and they kind of share my books a little bit. They kind of share my channel. I have random cousins pop up on my live streams every now and then. So there's a lot of support there and a lot of positivity. So as long as you get constructive feedback from them and you get the support you need, it's almost like you have to have a conversation like, okay, right now I need you to be my positive force, or right now I need you to read this and give me your real thoughts. So just prefacing everything like that before you talk to somebody is usually very, very helpful. That way they know what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, you know, it's difficult when your job, when your hobby that you're trying to turn into a job is something that your family members don't understand. Like my husband's not really a reader. He's not a reader. My brother's not a reader. He prefers audiobooks. But, you know, they will like try to support me. They'll listen to things when I'm talking about things. They'll like, if someone's talking about a book, he's like, yeah, my wife's a writer. She writes this. And, those kind of interactions, they don't necessarily have to read your books to support your books, if that makes sense. We're always talking about in that indie author life and AuthorTube, this corner of AuthorTube, that's the best ways that you can support indie authors. That is, you don't necessarily have to buy and read their books. You can share their books. You can share their reviews. You can, you know, go, hey, you know, you see somebody reading a book and you're like, hey, you know, you like that book? I know an author. Yeah. And it's difficult. I mean, it is draining because, writing, honestly, writing and doing writerly things is harder than when I was able to do a physical job. This is harder than when I worked for the post office. And it can really affect your experience and make you feel isolated, which is why we're always cheerleading people and saying, yeah, you got this, you can do this, go on and, keep, you're on another round of editing. Just breathe, you're backing yourself into that corner that says that this is never going to be done. It's never going to be good enough. Just, you've got this. Just believe in yourself. And it's a hard thing to believe. Especially when you've got the imp whispering in your ear all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah. Eva says, I don't dream of working. I love that my little books are upsetting people who should be supporting me. That's the chaos part of my soul. Sometimes makes me feel hashtags though. Family could at least buy them. Not sure that they sure got money, even if they don't read them.
No.
Yeah.
Says that Rita is wonderful too. Cat Paul says, I'm wobbling between upset none of the fam are readers and the freedom to know they won't read what I write. It's disheartening not even friends care to read though. Yeah. But I kind of get that because I'm glad that there are certain members of my family that will never read what I write. And if they do, they won't even talk to me about it because, embarrassing. But yeah, it's weird. Rita says, Dream Squashers got to go. Yes. And Skye says, the girls help build excitement and are a lot of fun when I need names. They are trying to convince me to name a character Winyan from Epic the Musical. They are getting more into discussing plots too. Nice. Let's see. Eva says, I have crushed spirits and lifted them. I have only ever met one bad writer, though, and it's no one I met online. I hope I've never hurt a writer's mojo. I doubt it. Skye says, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I know several people who sneer at me because I'm an indie published and because I'm not making a livable wage. They look down on me for even trying.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
But even trad published authors, if they're okay, debut novels hardly ever pay themselves out. So a trad published author may not even make more than that, $5,000, $3,000 that they got at the beginning whenever they bought the rights, the publisher bought the rights. So, I mean, how is that a livable wage? I'm sorry, I can go through $3,000 in bills alone in 3 months. So, not even 3 months, 2 months. Let's see. Eva says, also remember you don't want to critique from your romantic partner unless you already work with critique in other areas. Yeah. My husband's an awesome alpha reader. I mean, Eva says, like, ask a partner to be a critic that isn't already inclined to be is a big ask. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Dream squashers aren't worth it. Let's see. Miranda says, my dad has read a few of my first handful of chapters and have given feedback. I write fantasy and he reads fantasy. Nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Middle, Mara, she reads everything. Rita says, truth with love, constructive criticism is fine, but someone who is just brutal to be mean is going to do so because they're suffering inside, so they'll spew outward.
Yep. That's what you mentioned before. Let's see. Cat Paw says, sometimes it makes me so ticked, though. Fam could at least buy them. They sure got money, even if they don't read them. Yeah, they can buy them and donate them to their local library or put them in one of those little roadside library things, whatever.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it
like you said, feel
yeah,
supported.
it's really hard when we put all this work into creating these books and into the creating the worlds and the characters and the editing and the formatting. We put all of this work in, and it's it's like, I think the best example is my great aunt Dora crocheted. She was super fast, and everybody was like, "Oh, crochet me something." Well, she crocheted her one of her granddaughter's her daughter's wedding dress, and then made panels to expand it so her granddaughter could wear it. And the whole dress is hand crocheted. I mean, it is a work of art, and people are like, "Oh, it's so pretty, can you make me something?" And they don't realize that it took 5 years. It took 5 years of crocheting with one of the smallest hooks that they make, hand crocheting with one of the smallest hooks they make. And it's like, and that's the way writing is people who are not writers do not realize the effort that goes in, and it's really easy for them to go, like, my husband, because I did a lot of it when he wasn't home. There was actually one day he sat down and watched me working on the formatting, because my desk is here and his desk is over there. And he was like, and then went out, we moved out. I was sitting on the couch and I was still working on it. He was watching me working on it. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Formatting." He's like, "You were doing that yesterday and the day before." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
Yep.
So, he's begun to understand that it's a job. It's that, it's a job that pays literally pennies an hour for work.
Yeah. 5 years and she wanted to. Like for 40K, she can make you one, maybe.
Yeah, it's actually in a museum. The dress is actually in a museum now.
Mel says, "I loaded in the middle of the convo, but I wanted to say yes, find those that are supportive. Don't let the others drag you down. It's hard, especially when it's people important to you." Yep. Margaret says, "Oh, that's nice." Skye says, "Can't imagine spending 5 years crocheting something." I know, but I don't even blink at spending 10-ish years working on a book.
Yeah.
Formatting. Yeah, I agree. I just thought that editing was the bane of my existence, and then I hit formatting, and I'm like, "Yeah, nope, this is it."
I always thought marketing. I always thought marketing was the bane of my. No, it's formatting.
Yeah.
Believe me, if I had money to pay a formatter, I would be like, "Take my money."
Exactly. Let's see. Cat Paul says, "I'd love to crochet a wedding dress, really do, but the material, the time, and then finding a buyer to pay at least material costs and give enough notice is not going to take." Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Skye's like, "Am I the only one that loves formatting?" Yes, you are.
Yes, you are, Skye. Yes, Skye, you are, and we love you for it. Oh, wait. I know how to get Skye. "Oh, Skye, tell us about your marketing." I love you, Skye. You're my friend. Skye is also buried in snow right now, so.
Yep. All right. So
someone is knocking on my door. I will be right.
Okay. So let's go back to chat here. Margaret says, "Repeating work you've already done, trial and error, changes to the rules, and uncertain timeline." Yeah. All right. Miranda says, "For me, formatting will be a new skill to play around with. Good luck." I would highly suggest whoever you're going to publish through, like if you're going to go through an aggregate like Ingram Spark or Lulu or anything like that, look at their facts and look at their blogs and stuff like that, their helpful notes and everything like that, because a lot of times they have templates that will work out amazingly. So yeah, highly recommend that. Rita says, same. Hubs and I did a fun interview where he interviewed me and was just so honestly surprised at how many books I even had in my catalog. Let's see. Skye says, I want to do some trades. I'll format in exchange for some critiques when I get some done. Yes, that sounds like a good trade. What program do we use? Marketing is Mel's bane. Yeah, I think marketing is facts. Yes. If you're asking the program that I use for formatting, I just use Word. And then, because I tried using AutoCrit's formatter, it worked for the ebook, but it didn't quite work out for the beast, the paperback. So I just did everything through Word. And right now, that's kind of the easiest thing for me. I would love to purchase Atticus, but that's just not in the books right now. Skye says, I've used InDesign, Word, Vellum, and Atticus. It depends on what I want to do with it. The more extra stuff I need to add determines what I use. Yeah. Eva says, I used Word for KU only, published things, and it went through super easy for me. Yeah. But you have Atticus now. Yeah. My thought just left me. I've made like my chapter breaks because I like the idea of having like a unique little design for the chapter breaks. I make those in Canva. And I just make them like an inch by an inch kind of thing. That way I can just resize them in Word whenever I put them in the middle of the page where I need to. So you can do that. Mel says, if you're using Word, I'll have to show you a few tricks I learned. Really? No. Eva says, next time I come to Tennessee, meet up with me and use my Atticus maybe. Okay, I'll test it out. Yes. What is this marketing you speak of? The most extra things. Map at the front, little black and white illustrations, sometimes chapter headings, middle grade. Which program? Yeah. I would love, like, I didn't put a map in I'm No Hero, and I feel bad about that, but I don't have the budget to hire a map maker, and the maps I make are lacking. Even with a program like Incarnate, it was because me and Shadows with like the mountains and rivers and stuff like that, it just didn't quite work out. I'm learning more and more as I go, though. So we'll get there. Anyway, the next question that we have is, what do you do to stay motivated to continue a project when you've lost words and or documents you've been working on and now have to start over? Yeah. So I've forgotten some of the work that I've done. Like I wrote in a random notebook somewhere, like at a doctor's office or something like that, and I completely forgot that scene. And as I'm going through like all my notes and everything, and my notebooks that I know that I wrote in the past 2 or 3 months, whenever I'm compiling all my stuff together, I come across that scene, and it's like, oh, where do I put this in? And that's just like it's like the bane of my existence. Like, do I want to add it in? Yes, it's a nice scene. I want to add it in. Let's take this scene out. But as far as losing stuff, I do believe I lost what was on that one laptop in college. I think it was the last Dell I had. Pretty sure, because we still can't get to the hard drive in it. I don't remember everything that I've lost, but I know that I lost at least 10 to 12 chapters of another series that I was working on at the time called Artray. It was going to be kind of like a fantasy with a touch of sci-fi, genetics, and space travel kind of thing. But yeah, I know I lost it. I know I lost all of my character work for that world, and I'm pretty sure I lost about 5 or 6 scenes for the epic that I'm working on now, the vampire epic. So yeah. I haven't started on Artray again. That's going to be another couple of years, probably 2026. But I have a feeling that it's going to be kind of like me restarting Montana's Wolf, which was another romance. I'm going to fight it every inch of the way. My brain's going to be like, you've already told this story. We don't need to work on this. We need to work on something else. And there's going to be a ton of shiny object syndrome. So yeah. Try to remember what you lost. Make an outline out of it, maybe. That way you know the points that you need to hit on what you lost, and just try to go from there. I'd love to be able to hire someone to make me a custom map. Yes. Eva says I start over a lot anyway if I don't finish fast enough, so I haven't experienced this specific information. Yeah. Their position. Skye says I have had to switch projects for a while until it stops hurting. Yeah. Skye says, for the most part, I change a lot too, but it's discouraging to write lots of words and then lose them all. Yes. Margaret says, I never look back, darling. It distracts me from the now. Edna mode. Love that character. Skye says, that's a perfect way to treat it. I say that phrase for a lot of things outside of writing. Time to adopt it for the writing too. Yeah. Shiny object syndrome, yes. Mel, I lost a lot due to a virus once. It took a while, but finally convinced myself it was just going to do it over and make it even better. Yes, very much so. My cruel soul. But yeah, just if you want to use the old stuff and you think that it was perfect the way it was, here's the thing. Depending on when you wrote it and when you lost it, like say it was 5 years ago, you are a better writer now than you were back then. So to me, use what you remember of what you lost as a basis, but know that it's going to be better, and kind of comfort yourself with that. Because like I said, we're always changing, we're always growing. And as writers, we always make ourselves better. The more we write, the more we read. So yeah. Not as sophisticated as a crow. I'm more of a magpie. Oh, goodness. Magpies are fun too. Yeah. As far as how dark my soul is, I think I'm more of a raven, but I'm not as smart as ravens, though. So, gothic, like the raven. Margaret says, I couldn't bring myself to read an old version to edit, so I did the sort of outline Sam mentioned and just rewrote with notes about when I wasn't sure whether to do the same or a different choice. Nice. Cat Boss says, does that make me a rook? Yeah. Magpies are corvids. Yeah. That's the reason why they're so interesting. Blue jays are kind of interesting too, but they're mean. My mama, she hardly ever cussed, but she would call blue jays the bastards of the bird world. So corvids unite. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I like woodpeckers too. Woodpeckers are neat. Let's see. Eva says, my area has crows, but not ravens. I'm hosting a crow party next year. Everyone brings a shiny trinket, and the winner gets a crown. Nice. They keep their trinket. Stellar's jays are so sassy. Yes. Yes. We need to travel and visit Eva for the crow party. Definitely. All right. So let me see. I didn't think that we would get past that. So let me pull up the next question that we had. If it's going to let me.
I'm back.
Yay!
What did I miss? Okay. What do you stay motivated to continue a project? You've lost the words. Real quick, my answer to that is I go back and look at the origins, the things that originally inspired me into the project. I have had a situation where I had a laptop literally just go pop, and like the battery did something, and it like ruined all my memory and everything. And then I discovered that the terabyte drive I was using had a bad sector, and 3 months worth of work had just saved as documents as X's. And so I lost months worth of work. And it was very, very, it was traumatic, but and because of my memory issues, I did not remember what I had written into that. And so I dealt with it. Is this better or worse than what I already wrote? So, yeah. No, one of the neighbors, so they're building a lot out here.
Mm-hmm.
They're building a lot out here. And some of the people that have moved out here, they've moved straight up from the city, and they did not realize that they don't plow the roads out here. Like we have not been able to leave since Wednesday night. So a different neighbor said, go down to Maggie's house. You'll know the house. It's got all the big spools built for a windbreak. And she used to run the food pantry, and she's already got stuff. So nice. I keep my freezer full. I have a pantry full when there's weather like this. So I was able to give them like 2 days worth of groceries and a gallon of milk, because you've got kids, and when they're at home, kids tend to just eat more when they can't get out and do stuff. So all they do is eat.
Yep,
and they were on the verge of running out of groceries because they cannot get out. They tried to get out yesterday and made it 2 miles from the house and got stuck. So,
oh gosh,
yeah,
you're awesome.
That's just awesome. The thing is if you've never lived as rural as this, you don't know what it's like. So it's a thing. Yeah, no, Eva, it's not. Oh, and one thing is I may have a new reader, because the teenage boy that was with her was like, wow, you really like this author, looking at the shelf of all my books. And I was like, haha, I am that author. And he's an Assassin's Creed fan, which is one of the bases for the Huntsman series. So I was like, here, borrow these books. Just bring them back. Yeah. No, it's Like, oh, Skye hasn't got any snow yet, but yeah, you know what? Skye knows what it's like when the weather comes in. Like, I have 13 inches of snow on my flower beds in a place that's protected from the wind, but the snow drifts are at my waist. So yeah, there's no getting out. There's no going anywhere.
Yeah. I miss the preparedness that my great grandmother and my grandparents had, because now, yeah, I have canned stuff in case something does happen, but I don't have the whole walk-in pantry that they had with the 50 freezers of things. And yeah.
Yeah, my chest freezer is in my dining room because I don't have room for it in my kitchen. And this house does not have a walk-in pantry.
Mm.
And I've actually talked seriously to my husband about converting one wall of our dining room into a pantry wall, because that I have the pantries like 3 cans deep and stuffed into the, because it's like during the bomb cyclone, we were it was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks before we got power back and the roads cleared. So yeah, it's snowed in is definitely a thing on the prairie.
Yeah. So our walk-in pantries when we were growing up was our pump houses. It was just a built-on addition to the house. Sometimes it had the well in it. Sometimes it had the washer and dryer in it. Most of the time it had the well in it. But the walls were always shelved with canned goods. And we would have a basket set up to where if we lost power, we could just drop things in the basket and lower it down into the well, because it stayed like 20 degrees down there. Yeah. So yeah, I miss it so bad.
Yeah, when we knew this storm was coming, my husband about had a cardiac because I went and dropped $300 at the grocery store. And he was like, "You can't just restock the pantry like this." I'm like, "I didn't, you know." Because if I'd have restocked the pantry, it would have probably been $600 or $700 the way groceries cost now. But yeah, no, it's people who come from an environment where they can just go to the grocery store to suddenly, not be able to go to the grocery store, or go from, like, during the pandemic, people would just go from store to store to store. They would store hop to find what they need.
Yeah.
You can't even leave the area to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learn how to run all kinds of equipment, how to run a chainsaw.
How to make everything from scratch, because keeping the base ingredients will store longer than stuff that's pre-made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have neighbors who will share a half a cow with you for whatever you have. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, you each throw in $200 and split a half.
Yeah.
And it's and I've got my birds, and so I was like, and here's fresh eggs. And
I can't remember. It was the weirdest trade that we've ever done. Our neighbor gave us half of a cow, and Dad gave them a go-kart that didn't work, one of the muskets, and I think 3 jars of Grandma's apple jelly, and that was it.
One of my neighbors gave me a quarter of an eighth of an elk. They got an elk. They gave us an eighth of an elk on the condition that I would bake them a pie or cake once a week. Nice. For after his mother became disabled and she had a stroke, so she couldn't bake anymore. But she had, and so I would, for 6 months, I was taking them a cake or a pie and then cookies to have on snacks during the week.
Mm-hmm.
You just do what you do. But I have a really funny story about this. Eva's going to laugh about this. I know Eva's going to laugh about this. So when we lived over, when we first moved back to Colorado, we lived in a place about 25 miles west of here, and it was out in the Sand Hills. And my friend lived 1 mile literally across the pasture from us, 1 mile walk to her house from my house. And then her neighbor across the street from her was from the city. Now her husband was military, but he had grown up on a farm in South Dakota. So he knew all about that prairie life.
Right.
And we had a blow come in, and 4 or 5 feet of snow piled up. There were big drifts. She couldn't get out. And so, she had a little girl about 3 years old, was running out of eggs and milk. So she walked over to Dana's and was asking her, and Dana's like, well, Maggie's sending eggs and milk to me. The kids are just sledding back, and the kids literally made them tunnels back and forth, and they were sledding back and forth between our houses. And so she's like, yeah, I'll just, when the kids, I'll have her send me extra for you. And so the milk comes, and of course, because had goats at the time, the milk came in a jar, and the honey came in a jar, and the eggs came in a basket. And she was like, why are the egg yolks so yellow? She calls me, why is this in a jar? And I'm like, well, this is the milk from my goats this morning. It's fine. I know you're not used to milk, so I pasteurized it for you. It's the same as you would get from the store. And she goes, there's a film on it. I'm like, yeah, that's the cream. Just scoop it off, put it in your coffee. It's fine. So she fed the goat milk to the dogs. And she fed the bright yellow eggs to the dogs. Her daughter was like, these are the best eggs ever. And she's like, no, you can't eat them. There's something wrong with them. What do you feed? And she was like calling me like, why are they so yellow? What are you feeding them? I'm like, they're fresh eggs. They're literally today's eggs.
Oh my God.
The reason they're yellow is like this is because they're fresh. The reason that eggs from the grocery store are pale is because if you look at the end of the egg carton, there's a little 3-digit number. And that 3-digit number is the numeric value of the day that the eggs were put in the carton. So if you get a carton of eggs and it says 130 on it, then it was put in the carton on March 10th. The thing is if you get that, you probably won't get that carton of eggs until May. So your eggs are already 6 weeks old. So yeah, it was so funny. It was so funny. The people who aren't from the city, they don't know how to cope with things like this. And it's just like, Maggie, Chicken, and Rose are laying. Oh, yay! I'm glad that they're laying for you, Rita. We had so much fun during the pandemic. People, it wasn't fun, haha. It was like, oh, honey, kind of funny.
Yeah.
People like there was a lady who bought 200 chicks from the local Big R, and she bought one of those really expensive like chicken trailer chicken houses. And she just put the baby chicks in the chicken house without any heat or anything. And and she was so mad. And I was in there picking up my feed order. She was like screaming at the manager. And the manager was literally standing there doing this. And it was like, she was like, I was expecting to start being able to selling eggs next month. And it was like, you just got chicks. You're not going to get eggs for like 6 months minimum. If you have a production breed. If you don't have a production breed, you're looking at more like 9 months.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
My chickens lay in the winter, but it's because I supplement feed them. My chickens have heat. I make sure they get 14 hours of light a day. They have heat. They have they get fresh bedding every week. I feed them greens and I feed them mealworms. I get the freeze-dried bugs. And I feed them so that their diet, along with getting the house scraps, their diet from summer to winter, it changes flavors, but it doesn't change content.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hate to say this, but my chickens live better than foster children.
Yeah. That's what we used to do. We made sure that their meal didn't change from spring, summer, all year round. If you do that, it kind of tricks them into laying during the winter.
Yeah. And the nice thing is I can go to Walmart and buy boxes of salads and boxes of like fresh spices. And my ultimate goal is, like, I have a friend who, I actually wrote this in the Flame Burning Within. I have her chicken house is one of these big Quonset huts, and she grows trays of chicken grass, and they will pull the one off the bottom, put it on the top. Everybody moves down, and she'll pull out the one that's grown up and put it out. And so her chickens, literally, they can go scritch around their little pallets of fresh grass.
Yeah.
And it's like her birds, her setup is amazing. She gets eggs. She lives out toward Crawford, and she gets eggs all year round. She sells eggs all year round because, her chickens, they have no difference in life from summer to winter.
Yeah.
Their quality of life is, and they get to just, they free range, and it's, like I said,
Yeah. Chickens and seeds were the key. Doing me a learning today. Yep.
Yeah.
Rita says her chickens eat very well. Yep. We also have very mild winters out here too, especially now. So our chickens are still, when we had chickens, they were still allowed out to graze and everything on the warm sunny days. So that didn't really change there either. And we watched, if we couldn't get to the store or something like that, we watched where all the songbirds were pecking, and we set our chickens out there because we knew that there were a lot of bugs and stuff. So yeah. Okay. All right. So do we want to hit up one more question? Go ahead.
Off the writerly topic. Sorry. Squirrel.
Hey, you gotta eat eggs. You gotta eat in order to be creative. So
Yeah. Well, and it's like, this could be research. It's a technique, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I all I can think about is as I was beta reading a story, and I had to tell the author, who, lovely lady, very lovely lady. She's from Maine, and lovely lady. She knows nothing about life in Colorado, and that Brahma, Angus, and Herefords are different breeds of cattle, and that bulls and steers are not the same thing. They're not interchangeable terms. And that unfortunately, at the altitude of the town that she was at, that she needed to have a different breed of cattle, because at that altitude they get dropsy. And yeah. So, if you do your research, or find someone who knows the life of the area you're living at, if you don't know that area.
Yeah. If y'all ever have to do research on mountain living, I guess, or anything related to that, the Foxfire books. Get copies of the Foxfire books. I mean, they have a wealth of knowledge in them. You can learn just about anything that the old timers used to do, and some of the things that we still do today.
Yeah. And Appalachian mountain living is not the same as Rocky Mountain living.
Nope.
Just FYI.
Nope. If you're not of the Appalachians, but you still want to try to study up on how people did things back in the day, that you can start doing today for your homestead or whatever. Almanacs are decent. and they have different things for different areas in the United States. Other than that, find you an elder.
Yeah.
Kitty. Yep. For researching for future books. Yes. 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 Yes.
Which is easier, creating your own world or basing it off a modern city, or a mixture of the two, starting a series? I think it depends on what kind of a series that you're doing. I have my 30 questions for world building thing.
Yeah.
You can find it on my Google Docs. I share it to everybody, but it depends on what you're writing.
Yeah, she's more of an urban fantasy writer. So modern urban fantasy, I think.
Yeah, and if you're writing a place that you don't know, Google Earth Street View is an amazing tool. When I was writing the Servants of the Moon series, I used Google Earth Street View to wander around Nova Scotia, to the point that there are people from Nova Scotia who thought I had lived there.
Yeah. So I gotta hit on this. Melissa's met my family. And we have learned to communicate with each other not using words, as is the Appalachian family way. So I get it. We do grunts, we do points, we do everything is a thingy.
At least you don't do the rest thing where you point with your chin.
We did.
Yeah. It's up there.
So yeah. And Skye, this one. My kids were out
no, not at night. You don't do that at night. You don't do that. You don't whistle at night. Yeah, I don't care where you live. You don't whistle at night. No,
all the hates.
No,
Let's see. Eva says, my mom grew up in rural Iowa. I have notes and notes, audio files, and drafted scenes for a story heavily inspired by her life. Nice. Yeah. 1945 to 1960, she grew up there. She moved to a small city for the 60s. Cool. Had it up on Vella for a bit. The first part of it, my blog is correlative, though. So same voice. My mother's daughter is my blog. Yes.
Yeah.
Skye says, I made a fictional city based on a real one.
Pagosa Cliffs is based on, it's a mixture of Ouray and Pagosa Springs. So,
yeah. With me, granted, I haven't written any of my urban fantasies yet, published any of my urban fantasies yet. Creating a brand new world is way easier to me than basing something in the real world and trying to manipulate my stuff around it.
Yeah, and you have to be careful, because there are people who, if you're having a real world thing, like I was reading a book and they had the Seine in the wrong part of Paris. People lost their mind. They're like, no, I lived there. That's not what it, this author is stupid. They don't know, it didn't matter how good the book was.
No.
They had a road crossing the Seine that didn't cross the Seine, and people lost their, it's not reality. It's reality adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you have, it's a very fine line to write if you're writing a real place versus an imaginary place. And it's like there's books. Okay. Back in the 90s, there were all these books and all these movies that talk about the Twin Towers in New York. That was an iconic landmark.
Yeah.
And, and you could, there are places in the city where you knew where you were based on where the towers were on the skyline. And it's, you know, that they were as referenced as the Brooklyn Bridge or Battery Park. And now if a book says that, that immediately dates that book pre 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, you know, awareness of the real world and changes in the real world. Like the Tropicana Hotel was demolished to put the Sphere in.
Yeah.
So that changes in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, there, you know, San Francisco, there's pre and post earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
So it's writing real world versus writing real world adjacent versus writing faux world. I think that's your call as an author. Just be sure you do your research and be prepared that if you get something wrong, the Karens will come for you. It doesn't matter. They just need a reason to be angry. They're addicted to their anger. They need a reason to be angry. And because you put a coffee shop on the wrong corner of an intersection, that's all they need.
Yeah. So I'm going to comment on this real quick. If you are ever scared of living out on your own, one of the old ways is get 4 jars, fill them up with pure iron items. And on the 4 corners of your property, or if you have more than 4 corners, like if your property is kind of weird, then every corner of your property bury a jar of pure iron stuff. And that keeps a lot of things like haints, what we call haints around here, at bay. And don't allow anybody to cross the border of your property of a night, especially if something's calling them from the other side. So keep your family safe.
Yeah. It's yeah, there's a reason that you hang things by your door, you know.
Yeah.
And salt the border of your property and sage your house and say prayers and put anointing oil on your above your lintels, because there are more things in heaven and earth than dreamt of in your philosophy. Yeah. Shakespeare said that 400 years ago, and it's as true now as it was back then. And so it's very interesting. The overlap from all the different ethnic groups about how to deal with certain things is pretty much the same.
Yeah, it is. One of the things that I found in one of my research moments. So a lot of the old houses around here, you'd walk in and there would be newspapers kind of plastered on the walls, you know, over the windows and stuff like that. And it would look fresh. Like as soon as the words started fading, they would refresh it. And the reason why is because certain haints, if they do get into your house, they have to read every word that they come across. So it gives you time to escape. Also, while people,
it's the always leave a book open on your window frame.
Yeah,
always leave a book open. Another thing is scattering pebbles or something like that, marbles or something, leaving just like a bowl of like pebbles or marbles out. And there are things that you know, according to mythology, they have what is it, arithmetopia, where they have to count things. That's so yeah. But it's a thing. But back to one of the things that we should talk about, like that I just saw that reminded me of, Vella is shutting down in February.
Yeah.
So a lot of indie authors, they went on to Vella. They put a lot of stuff into Vella. Amazon did absolutely nothing to promote Vella, to share Vella. I was on Vella. I was in the beta for Vella because someone I know from Inkit, I was helping them was one of the very early people on Ingot, and they got me into the beta on Vela, and so I was in the beta on Vela. And then when they went wide for genre wide, I went ahead and pulled out of Vela because my reads dropped off to 0 in a month. So
Yeah.
I stayed with them for like 6 more months, and then I just went ahead and pulled off because I realized that the sci-fi genre, fantasy genres that I write were not doing anything on Vela at all. So I pulled it out, and but there's you. I mean, you had something on Vela. Eva had something on Vela. I know that I know a dozen authors who had stuff on Vela, and now Vela's just okay. You've got until February, and we knew they were in trouble when they went from having 3 free chapters to having 10 free chapters.
Yep.
And so, what is everyone's plans? Are you? I unserialized my books and started putting them all on just regular Kindle Unlimited. So
I'm publishing mine. I mean, I moved from Vela to Ream, and Ream started their stuff.
that was that was so surreal.
Yeah. So I'm not updating Ream anymore. I'm publishing everything that I have on Ream because, yeah. And then from there, if I want to do serial fiction, I guess I'll just do it on my Substack or Ko-fi or something like that. Because, yeah.
Hi, Jenna. Yeah, Vela I agree with Skye. Vela could have been an awesome program, but they set it up for failure. And part of the reason is they set up Vela because they were trying to buy Royal Road, and then that fell through.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to create their own serialized platform and roll another one into it, and then that didn't happen. And then it went completely. When the thing is, I think part of the problem is when they went wide, they didn't have the people to monitor what was going wide, and they didn't have stricter guidelines about how to. I mean, there are people that their stories just became a mudslide. They just went on and on and on and on. 100 chapters, 200. I think they set the chapter limit finally at like 120 chapters, but and they upped the minimum word count, but it's I think you can actually with the increase of like server technologies and stuff, you can actually like with a couple tens of thousands of dollars startup money, you could start your own platform. But you have the issue of facing the quality versus the traffic.
Yeah.
And that is the issue that both Ream and Vela have hit up against is quality / traffic issues leading forward.
Yeah. So there's also, I think, Inca, her website now hosts her serialized stories, and I think she does it through a certain aggregate. I can't remember what it's called, but it's something like WooCommerce or something. It's an addition that she can, a widget that she can put up on her website. So maybe go stalk her social medias and see if she talks about it anywhere. But there's that option where you can host your own serialized stories on your own website. There again, you're facing marketing
Or Ko-fi
or something like that would probably be easier. Especially if they have like Patreon, the discoverability things that you can do. So yeah, I can't imagine the server costs or something like that.
Yeah, it's buying the equipment is not the issue.
Mm.
It's the traffic and the marketing, and because you're up against a lot of about is because of the AI story that are hitting. They're now using AI bots to search through Amazon to check stories, the Kindle stories that people are writing, and there are indie authors that used AI to generate their stories or maybe edit their stories or something like that. You have to put the disclaimer when you publish on the back end. Did you use it to translate it? Did you use it to images? Did you use it to write or edit? And you have to mark that on the back end of your Kindle when you're uploading a book. You have to mark, did you use AI for anything? And if they think you used AI, they will pull your page. They will pull you down and pull your page. And then you're just like, and then you have to try to get your page back. And some authors, they're losing their author page.
Yeah.
Because the AI bot, their story is too close to another story. Their tropes are too close to another story's tropes. And yeah, and it's just another hurdle that indie authors are facing right now.
Yeah. Skye says that she's heard of some people using letterpress, but that's one of those sounds too good to be true kind of sites at the moment. I keep waiting for the catch and no one's mentioned one yet. I think you held back on Ream because of that too, and I kind of wish that I held back more on Ream too, because that was a lot of work. Apparently we did have a little bit of lag, but we're good now. Let me see if I can. It seems like Shopify was saying something about doing a subscription type thing as well for people's websites. I don't know when they're going to roll that out, if they're going to roll that out, but that might be another thing that you can look into. But yeah, just be careful of other serialized fiction places. There are some where they keep your rights to your work if you upload it.
Or if there are some of them like years ago, 2018, I signed up with I don't remember the original name of it, but they changed the name of the site to Dream.
Yeah.
And at the time I needed to buy some new appliances. So I said pay up front, and they wanted to keep the rights indefinitely. And I said, no, it's 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're buying the rights for 3 years. That's it. And I had to negotiate with them to do that. But the thing, there's some of these sites that if you accept a single payment from them, they can use your words for, they can take your story for anything, and they can change it too. And that's something else you need to be careful of.
Yeah.
Some of them, like if you write clean fit romance, and they will stick spicy romance into your stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have to really be careful of the fine print, because there are some of them that will say, we have and they'll call it editing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. So just be careful. Read the terms and conditions. Always read the terms and conditions before you upload any of your work anywhere. Just because you've got to keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
Did Ream really do something so bad as Bezos hoarding billions? So it's not bad. Ream isn't, I wouldn't necessarily say a bad company. Their people aren't bad who are running it. What is going on with Ream is that they keep a certain percentage, the favorites at the top of the page. They keep who they like, who they are supporting themselves on the front page banner kind of thing. They're not supportive of smaller authors or those that just start out. It's built for their favorites. That's the only thing with Ream that upset me, because if I had known that they were going to be favoritized, I wish that they would have just told me up front instead of promising that every author was going to get a chance to be on the front page, or seeing their work saying, hey, this is a new book being uploaded onto our service. Check it out, kind of thing, instead of the same people being up there all the time, constantly. That's what got me. And then some of the back end stuff is kind of weird, but I mean, it is a brand new company. They do have growing pains. It is what it is. But the fact that they promise stuff, but yet they're still not coming, they're not presenting it, is what got me. So yeah. 75,000 readers. The biggest lie told worldwide. I've read and agreed to the TNC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. So, sadly, it's a thing. I was never on Ream. So I cannot speak to anything about their scandal, about what was going on, about how they were foisting there were stories about them foisting all of their work off on just one or two employees, and everybody else was just taking the profits. And when the people that were like killing themselves working to keep the site going just finally said, I'm out. But yeah, so all I can speak to is what happened with Bella before I left Bella. And it's, that the sites take a lot of work, these kind of serial sites. And so it's really, I prefer to go through my Ko-fi. I'm on Amazon because it's the widest reach I can reach. Right. My friends in Australia and Germany and Iceland can get my books just by going to Amazon. And that makes me happy. But I also, for those who don't like using the Overlord A, I have my Ko-fi account, and you buy me a copy, I'll send you an ebook. You buy me 10 copies, I'll send you a printed signed book. Right. And that's, unfortunately, that's the way that indie authors, have to run. We basically are our own storefront.
Right. And there is a way, I've been reading on a couple of other blogs and stuff of how people are kind of fighting the whole Bella thing, but still being on Amazon because of the marketing and everything, is that they are publishing each chapter as a little booklet, and they're charging like 50 cents for each chapter, which means that they're still serializing technically. And they're publishing it wide on Amazon. They're publishing it to KU or whatever. So that could be a possibility too. And then when you're done with all those chapters, you have all those little chapter books, and then you make one big book. And that would be a great way to do a Kickstarter, because you have all your readers reading the chapters anyway. Now they get the book, and they can help you make the book. So, yeah. Eva says, if I decided to play with serials, that's where I was going to stick it since Villa was leaving. But my aim is more of a timeline for me than the gang readers. And that isn't to say that Ream won't fix their stuff. From what I have seen, there's maybe 2 people doing the coding for that entire website. So, yeah. They might fix it. Skye says, every time I look at the Ream site, it's always the same authors under the favorite area. And when I look at the all authors, I can't find people who've told me they're on the site listed. Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're going to put a list of all authors, make sure it has all authors. Exactly. Eva says, I use Amazon too. Don't blame individuals. Just notice we are harder on smaller businesses. Yeah, we are, I think. We excuse the overlords. Let's give grace to our peers too, or something. Yeah. Yeah. Skye says, I'm currently exclusive to the Zon, knowing they're bad with the intention of going wide someday. Yeah. That's the reason why I went with like Ingram Spark and Drafted Digital and Lulu, just so they're smaller companies. They are an aggregate. I am on Amazon, but I'm also on whatever they provide me to. Can't even find people. I've not looked around on Ream. I've only checked out the ones I found via the link. It's true of Ko-fi and Patreon too. Yeah. There are just so many people on Patreon, especially. Ko-fi, not as much as Patreon, but they're kind of getting there. That it's difficult to find people still.
Yeah, I think that's another issue that as indie writers we all have to face is visibility. They pay for Pulitzer nominations and the New York Times bestseller list. Years ago, it used to be something, those were merit. Those were merit awards. Yeah. And in the last 2 decades, they have just become marketing. They've just become something that's paid for. And it's like, so it's so hard. It is so hard. Indie authors have so many more levels to try to overcome.
It's almost like we need to just come together and create our own publishing house.
Yeah. Well, and there's people like Devin Gamble Clark, who runs the All Call Indie websites for author services. If you are looking for an editor or a formatter or an artist or a developmental editor or reader or something, you can go to All Call Indie.
Yeah. I'm on there as a reader, I think.
and then there's the AWC that we have every year that Shannon Houston runs every single year.
Yeah.
With
Margaret and Devin. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like if the indie authors, if we don't support each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eva for a while had a website, a directory of indie authors. And that's where I got my genre slut mug that I love so much. But yeah, it's hard. It as indie authors, it's not just that we have to, going back to what in the very beginning, that we have to put out the best possible content levels above what trad pubbing is putting out right now.
Right.
But we also are our own formatting team, our own editing team, our own marketing team. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for one or...
Yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world, though. I don't have to follow rules. I've got my own. Cat Paw, you are one of us. I don't care what your imposter syndrome says. You are one of us. But yeah. All right. So do we have anything else that we need to touch on before we go?
Don't listen to the imp.
Right. What about a magazine? Yeah, maybe. I mean, there is a thing that I used to use all the time where you create your own magazine, and it's an e-magazine, and it's free to use. So that could be an idea. I don't know. Again, a lot of work.
A lot of work and a lot of time.
Yeah, we could list new releases, find a reviewer to add reviews, and by we, I mean y'all.
Yeah, it's getting reviews is getting so iffy on Amazon right now because yeah, they are like review trading will now get you kicked from Amazon.
Yeah.
ARC reading or ARC reviews are still that gray area. But they were talking literally about, is an ARC a gift, which would count as a gratuity to get a review. And it's, I worry for some indie authors because they get these like the one author group that I left on Facebook where they were saying that you can pay for reviews and that, that paying for an editorial review is okay. And it's like, no, paying for reviews is not okay, first of all. And second of all, you can't skip these. If you are writing about an ethnic group that is not your ethnic group, you need a sensitivity reader. And even if you are, then you still might need a sensitivity reader. And it's very difficult to face what you are going through as an indie author versus a Trad Pub author with a team.
Yeah.
And to have these marketing people out there like the saying, well, do this method and you'll succeed as an indie author. Pay me for this seminar program, you'll succeed as an indie author. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So, talking about magazines, working on a magazine is a everyday, constant thing, and maybe it's a newsletter collaboration. I've got so much
discovered by a lot of authors because there were groups of like 20 or 30 authors, 50 author mailing list, and they were getting exposure, but no one was getting traction, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So everybody was putting, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. I know that nobody's got $40 a week to throw on Facebook or Amazon ads.
Yeah. Not just buy these books. No, I'm sick of brands. Yeah, with the newsletter, it's not just ads. It is, depending on how many people you have on your newsletter, is free. With Substack, I think it's free. They don't have a limit. I know like MailChimp, you have 1,000 subscribers and then they start charging you.
Yeah. And I honestly have gotten so busy. I've gone through and I've dropped a bunch of my newsletters that I was getting. And when it pops up, why are you dropping the newsletter? I will put in the comments because, the person sending out the newsletter does get those comments. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm so busy. I don't have time to read your newsletter until weeks later, if I get to it at all. And I don't want to waste a slot that you're paying for.
Right.
And sadly, that's the true thing. I don't want, and that's my response to all of the newsletters that I've dropped out of. And I've probably dropped 100 newsletters in the last 2 months because I'm like, I just don't have time to read them anymore. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking about this. If we do like compile some kind of newsletter or magazine or something like that, or even just a Substack group, like I know there's like a stack within Substack that's called Small Stack, where a lot of small Substackers with under 500 subscribers kind of hang out and share stuff. If we were to do that, I might have a list because of the thing that we're doing in January with the under $1,000 subscribers marathon. So I might have a list of like small channels, smaller indie author, well, just indie authors in general through that too. So I don't know, maybe. Speaking of which, if y'all are on YouTube and you have under 1,000 subscribers, make sure to sign up for this because I need more people to make this like a week-long marathon. And I want it to be where Australia can join in, where everybody across the world can join in. There's going to be a stream for running for everybody. So here is the link to that. And yeah, it's kind of technically linked in. I'm thinking it's going to be the second week in January, I do believe, is what I'm kind of aiming for. Starts Sunday, January 12th and ends Sunday, January 19th at noon. Right now, I have only 6 people interested in running live streams. So make sure to fill that out and let me know what you can do. This is just like the planning phase. This is you signing up for like a preferred time slot and stuff like that. So yeah. If you lose it in the chat, it's going to be in my description box for all my videos and live streams and everything. So it won't get lost, I promise. And if you want to join us in the blog, feel free to do so. Don't have a channel just yet. You want to kind of get your feet wet, being on the screen. We are game. We're nice. We don't bite too much.
Yeah, you know me. I'll be like wherever.
Yes. Thank you, Skye and Eva. Yes. So yeah, hopefully the second week in January we'll be doing that marathon. All right.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I you know me, I'll just be whatever. I am always in for the modding and the volunteering. So
yep.
It's
I counted you already in that 6. So I hope you don't mind. I'm
around. I'm just always I don't know. My sad little life. No, whatever. Yeah.
It's all right.
Okay. I'm Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine sufferer. I write books. I have another book coming out on the 22nd of this month called Anemones in the Wind. It is book 4 of the Pagosa Cliffs Anemones Bakery series. I got a bunch of other books, 35 books. Yeah, go to my page, see my books. I got books.
Yes.
I write everything. I write everything except horror and smexitime.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to get to where I can actually share your link and it's not letting me. There we go.
I'm Penumbra Mine MM Ward on like all platforms.
Yeah.
I have, that was the one thing that I did right when I began my writer thing, was I got my identity on all platforms.
I have a book out. It's called I'm No Hero. You can find the link down in the description box. I do have another book coming out, hopefully at the end of this month if I can get through the edits. The aim is for the 18th or 20th, somewhere around in there, but maybe. It might be the 1st of December. I don't know. Thank you all for joining us so much. And make sure to check out all the links in the description box and Mama Maggie's channel too. I'm used to you being on this side. We will see y'all next Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern.